Hello biology class, this is Mr. Worley. Welcome to lecture 9-2, the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. Make sure you have a piece of paper, pencil out, ready to go. Here are objectives. Describe what happens during the Krebs cycle. Next, explain how high energy electrons are used by the electron transport chain. Next, identify 3 pathways the body uses to release energy during exercise. And finally, compare photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Our lecture exercises are page 232, numbers 1 through 6. Make sure you have your book and a good chunk of time, because here we go. Before we read, let's look at some of our vocabulary words. Aerobic, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Reading strategy. Before you read, review figure 9-2 on page 222. Then preview figure 9-6 and 9-7. As you read, notice where the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain take place. Alright? I recommend putting it on pause and looking at those pictures. Alright, let's continue on. Remember last section we were talking about glycolysis and fermentation, and that fermentation happened when there was no oxygen? Well, let's talk about what happens when there is oxygen. At the end of glycolysis, about 90% of the chemical energy that was available in glucose is still unused, locked in high energy electrons of pyruvic acid. To extract the rest of that energy, the cell turns to one of the world's most powerful electron acceptors, oxygen. Oxygen is required for the final steps of cellular respiration. Because the pathways of cellular respiration require oxygen, they are said to be aerobic. Okay, aerobic means requiring oxygen. Vocabulary word. Nice. As you know, the word respiration is often used as a synonym for breathing. Synonym means the same meaning. This is why we have used the term cellular respiration to refer to the energy-releasing pathways within the cell. The double meaning of respiration points out a crucial connection between cells and organisms. The energy-releasing pathways within cells require oxygen, and that is the reason we need to breathe, to respire. All right? Cellular respiration, cellular breathing. That's what we're learning about. Because, I mean, you breathe, right? But you're just full of cells, so it must be your cells that are breathing. Okay? Here we go, the Krebs cycle. In the presence of oxygen, pyruvic acid produced in glycolysis passes to the second stage of cellular respiration. The Krebs cycle. Vocab word. Yeah. The Krebs cycle is named after Hans Krebs, the British biochemist who demonstrated its existence in 1937. During the Krebs cycle, pyruvic acid is broken down into carbon dioxide in a series of energy-extracting reactions. Oh, here's a key concept, and I think that's one of our objectives. Let's find out. Describe what happens during the Krebs cycle. All right, and the simplest answer is, in the Krebs cycle, pyruvic acid is broken down into carbon dioxide in a series of energy-extracting reactions. Okay. Because citric acid is the first compound formed in the series of reactions, the Krebs cycle is also known as the citric acid cycle. That sounds like a good vocab word. And a good quiz question. A. The Krebs cycle begins when pyruvic acid produced by glycolysis enters the mitochondrion. That makes sense, because remember our picture from before? Here's glycolysis. We learned that just a few hours ago. And then pyruvic acid is made from the breaking up of glucose, and it enters into the mitochondrion into the Krebs cycle. Okay? Where does the Krebs cycle happen? Great quiz question. One carbon atom from pyruvic acid becomes part of a molecule of carbon dioxide, which is eventually released into the air. The other 2 carbon atoms from pyruvic acid are joined to a compound called coenzyme A to form acetyl-CoA. The acetyl part of acetyl-CoA is made up of 2 carbon atoms, 1 oxygen atom, and 3 hydrogen atoms. Okay, what are they saying? Okay, acetyl-CoA looks like this. 2 carbon atoms. And what else did they say? 1 oxygen atom and 3 hydrogen atoms. All right. I think that would look like this. But you don't need to worry about that. Anyway, let's take a minute and look at what they're saying on the actual picture of the Krebs cycle. Check it out. So basically, here's the Krebs cycle. It's on the next paper. Pyruvic acid is this 3-carbon molecule. It enters the mitochondrion right here, and it gets turned into a molecule called acetyl-CoA. It gets turned into that by removing 1 carbon in the form of carbon dioxide and turning NAD plus into NADH. Alright? Acetyl-CoA, the next step for acetyl-CoA is to merge into the Krebs cycle, combining with a 4-carbon compound to make citric acid. So step 1 is pyruvic acid gets broken down into acetyl-CoA. Step 2, acetyl-CoA gets added to a 4-carbon compound to make citric acid. And finally, step 3 we're going to read about right now. As the cycle continues, citric acid is broken down into a 4-carbon molecule. More carbon dioxide is released, and electrons are transferred to energy carriers. Follow the reactions in figure 9-6. You will see how this happens. First, look at the 6 carbon atoms in the citric acid cycle. One is removed, and then another, releasing 2 molecules of carbon dioxide and leaving a 4-carbon molecule. Alright, let's look at that. So here's citric acid right here. The first step is 1 carbon is removed in the form of carbon dioxide. And in that process, NAD plus gets turned into NADH. And then you have a 5-carbon molecule. And it happens again. This time carbon dioxide is released. And NAD plus gets turned into NADH. And you get some ATP out of the deal. And that brings you back to a 4-carbon molecule. Alright, do you see how it's a cycle? And that 4-carbon molecule, step 4, and that 4-carbon molecule is what gets added to the next acetyl-CoA to make citric acid. In the process of that 4-carbon molecule adding to acetyl-CoA to make a citric acid, you get FADH2 and NADH. So it's a cycle. It just goes round and round and round. Citric acid being created, broken down, and regenerated with acetyl-CoA. Goes around and around. That's the Krebs cycle. Next, look for ATP. For each turn of the cycle, a molecule similar to ADP is converted to a molecule that is similar to ATP. Okay. Finally, look at the electron carriers, NAD plus and FAD. Okay. So finally, it's saying, check out the picture. What's happening? You're getting 1. I'm going to circle it in a different color. You're getting 1, 2, 3, 4 NADHs out of the deal. You're also getting an FADH2, which is very similar to NADH. It carries high energy electrons. And finally, you're getting ATP out of the deal. So that's the end of video 1. Please move on to the next page, 227, and video 2.